Hey guys, it's Goosebumps Completionist, and today I'm bringing you another TV book review, and we're going to be discussing TV book number 7, The Headless Ghost. Now, for those of you that don't watch my TV book reviews, I know they're not the most popular videos on my channel, but in the TV book reviews, we're basically examining if the TV book serves its supplemental function as a supplement to the TV episode it is adapting. That's essentially what we're trying to measure. A 5 out of 5 would be a pretty sound adaptation of the episode. Anything lower means that there's differences in the book that aren't offered in the episode. And kind of how this works is the lower the score, the more different the book is. Now, for this TV book, I want to note off the bat, this book does have its little tiny things. It just changes from the episode, like basically unnoticeable things, but they do kind of add up throughout the read. And there's also a striking difference near the end that's also different, and I'll touch on that in the end here. But other than that, this book actually, this is one of the first ones I've noticed this, where it adds context missing from the episode and kind of improves the episode story structure through the reading process. As in what we saw by watching it, it just didn't have that context there, and I feel like the book filled in some blanks there to where I might actually declare this better than the TV episode in terms of writing and story. So, yeah, just for those little context things. But, yeah, let's get into the book. This was a pretty solid one. So, like the episode, it starts off with the Andrew legend. It starts off with Andrew talking to his mom and trying to tell him that, hey, look, you need to go to bed. You need to stop hunting ghosts in the house. The ghosts don't haunt the house. And Andrew nods his head and tries to get his mom to leave, and she does. And then the ghost that haunts the hill house that he lives in grabs him by the neck, and before we know what happens, it pops to present day, and Dwayne is there kind of commenting. And in this version, you get the perspective of Dwayne, as in I think it was more equally shared in the episode, but there's a lot more depth into Dwayne's perspective in the TV book here. So Dwayne kind of mentions to the reader that he already knows what's going to happen. The boy's head pops off, and then, of course, Otto reveals that the head pops off, and that scares the group that's in there touring the house. And then the whole thing happens with his friend Stephanie that scares the girl and makes fun of her for being scared and stuff. That all happens, and then Otto kicks him out like before, and they agree to meet there the next night. But in this, Dwayne gets a sense that he feels like this kid is watching him from the bushes, and he only sees him for like a split second. But that's really kind of implied in the episode as well, so not too bad. And then the next night happens, and they show up to the house again. This time they set on a mission to find the head of the Headless Ghost, Andrew, for fun. Because, you know, they made Otto mad, why not make him mad even more? So they go into the house, and they essentially plays out like the episode where they meet the group, and Otto reluctantly lets them join since they're behaving. And they hear the legend about the captain who built the house and how he built this house for this woman he loved, and he went away for a while, and after he came back, the woman had left for another man, and he died from a broken heart and lonely in his house, and his spirit became violent and vengeful and began to haunt people that took over the house long after he died. And it's said that the paintings on the wall in the stairwell are said to represent the people who fell victim to the hauntings of the house. And you can see the painting of Andrew as depicted on the cover here, which I don't know why they went with this as the cover, but it works. So, yeah, so you see that. And, of course, like the episode, Stephanie and Dwayne peel off from the group, and they go exploring this room that says off limits and stuff. It kind of plays out similarly to the episode, and they hear somebody coming to the room, and they hide in the closet. And then it turns out to be Otto, who catches them again and kicks them out and tells them not to come back anymore. They're banned, and if they come back, there's going to be consequences to be paid for, potentially, with the spirits of the house. So this is where Seth comes into play. Like the episode, Seth comes in and introduces himself to Stephanie and Dwayne and asks if they want to see the Headless Ghost for real. And that would mean that they need to come back after the place closes that same night, and they can go in through the basement door that Seth knows how to get into. And Stephanie agrees, but Dwayne doesn't necessarily want to do it, but he's kind of peer pressured into doing it, so he reluctantly agrees. And then it cuts to them getting into the basement, and Seth turns on the light, and they go up to the room like the episode where the dumbwaiter is, and they see the croquet mallets, and they see all this stuff around. It's a boy's room from the 1920s, and Seth explains the legend of the boy who fell down the dumbwaiter shaft, who liked the strawberry ice cream, and how he fell to his death, and how his brains and body kind of looked like the same color and consistency as the strawberry ice cream down below, so they couldn't tell the difference or tell them apart. And Dwayne was really disgusted by that from his POV, and he didn't want to go any further. But the book also adds a little thing that you don't see in the episode. There's apparently a dresser blocking this doorway that you don't really see happen, but they move a dresser to the side, and they go up this staircase, and he's essentially being shoved by Seth, and they make it up to the captain's quarters upstairs, and Seth locks the door, and essentially the same twist happens where Seth reveals himself to be Andrew, and he's wearing a borrowed head, and he wants Dwayne's head now. He needs Dwayne's head, and the same pleading happens like the episode. Maybe they add like throwing a net on top of him. I can't remember if that was in the episode or not, but there's little things like that. Just throws the net on top of him, and they try to escape through the dumbwaiter, trying to get away from Seth, and then they find the head of Andrew, the ghostly head of Andrew in there. And of course, the ghostly apparition appears, like the episode, and the body comes to collect the head with the same dialogue as in the episode, with those jokes. And then the body wanders off, and then Otto apparently comes out of nowhere, as the book displays, and confronts the two kids for pranks, and then scolds Seth for allowing this to happen, and explains that Seth used to work for him, and tells Dwayne that he's good to go home, but he wants to talk privately with Stephanie. And Stephanie tells him it's all right, you can go ahead and go, I'll meet you up later. And after they close the door, Dwayne overhears through the door, through his perspective, that there's some revelations going on with Stephanie. He hears what's going on with Stephanie. So Stephanie is encountering Otto, Seth, and the ghost boy, Andrew, up in the attic. And Otto kind of reveals himself to be a ghost. And same thing with Seth. And then they're all working with Andrew here. And their goal is to use the paint canvases up in the captain's room to paint Stephanie into a painting. And by doing that, it causes her to turn into a ghost or disappear. It's never really elaborated on. And once he hears Stephanie scream when it starts happening to her, he bolts in, and he notices some paint remover on the floor, and takes some paint remover. It's not really elaborated on in the episode what it was, but he takes some paint remover as displayed in the book, and throws it on the painting, and it enrages the three, Andrew, Otto, and Seth. And apparently the whole group and other spirits of the house kind of join in, trying to chase the kids out of the house. Unlike the episode, it's very different. And that's where it kind of, leaves Dwayne and Stephanie's part of the story. And then it specifically says 6 months later, kind of giving you a specific time frame. Now the house is up for sale. It's gone into disarray. Nobody's been in there for a while. And this couple is coming to view the house, and there might be a twist for a specific character being involved. Maybe things are going to be reverted back to the way they used to be before they were giving house tours at the Hill House, and that's essentially where the TV book wraps up, kind of similarly to the episode. So yeah, for the most part, it gets the episode pretty accurate here. Things I want to note, though. Positivities is that it's pretty faithful. It's a good supplement for it. But also, on the other hand, there are some things added in here that added up. like different like thematic things, like scenery changes that were completely different in the episode. Those are like aesthetic changes. They really should not matter, but they stuck out in my head because I knew I'm like this wasn't in the episode. So there's little things like that. They're not really important to deduct on, but they all are there. Like this, like I've said in the past about another book that I've done, I think that these books get in the initial scripts, and what perplexes me even more than those little aesthetic things is the climax of this version here. It builds the same, but it also puts you in Dwayne's perspective of it all, which is really cool to see. Just like in the episode, we only get like Stephanie's main view, and then Dwayne comes out of nowhere. But in the book, you actually get Dwayne's view of what's happening to Stephanie, which is really weird and a cool change of pace there. But at the same time, I also can't help but notice the context things that the book adds in there that the episode just didn't. It adds things to it. Like, oh, it's actually paint remover. Oh, okay, so there's not just Otto chasing him out of the house. There's the whole group is chasing him out of the house. There's multiple ghosts that apparently we haven't seen that are chasing him out of the house. There's roars of the house. That didn't happen in the episode. As well, it completely declares that the time jump that we saw in the episode that wasn't really explained but kind of implied is for sure 6 months. So, yeah, the context it adds there, like, it's paint remover, you know, it's 6 months. That's cool to add. That's nothing really to take away from the book, right? From the book to the adaptation of the episode, because the context is just context. But what baffles my mind is the scene where multiple ghosts chase him out of the house. That didn't happen like that. It was just Otto. And it's little things like that that make me think that these are initial scripts that they just turn into books to sell. And that's fine. It's not the most egregious change. I wouldn't say it's near as bad as the Cuckoo Clock of Doom one, where there's just multiple things that were not in the episode like that. But this one does have its little things that add up. And I only deducted 0.3 off for it being a 5 out of 5 perfect adaptation of the episode. I gave it about a 4.7, which a 4.7 out of 5 is still a pretty solid adaptation, but at the same time it is offering more context and it is offering a different version of the climax resolution than the episode offered in a way. So I do think there is enough there to warrant that if you want a little bit of a different experience for the Headless Ghost episode, to try this one out. It's not the biggest differences ever, but I do think the context there makes it more of a clear story than the episode did. It kind of fixes, I mean, it has the same pace, but it kind of fixes those issues that the pace of the timing of the episode couldn't provide. So I do think that the story overall is superior in the TV book here for the episode version, at least. So yeah, that's my thoughts on the TV book of The Headless Ghost. Let me know down in the comment section if you have read this. What'd you think about it? Did you like it? Did you not like it? What'd you think about the changes? Or lack thereof? Dying to know. And I'll see you next time.